In 2009, I started the blog, and on the About page, I wrote that at some point I'm going to turn this into a book. And it wasn't too much longer after I wrote that I got a call from a publisher who said, we would love to help you publish your book. And that's super flattering when you hear somebody say that. So I'm all hyped up. I take all my notes, I compile them together, and I put this manuscript together for the publisher. And I hand it off to them, and we don't have a call for about a week. And when we get on that call, it goes terrible. I mean, right from the very beginning, he says, I don't understand what you're doing with this book. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I said, well, help me understand. What are you saying? And he said, I don't know why a sales book has things like self-discipline in it, or caring, or resourcefulness or initiative. I get the whole second half. I like the part about prospecting and closing. That's what a sales book should be made up of. And maybe you could just pick one of those topics and write a book about that. And I said, I'm sorry, that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is to show there are a certain set of attributes that good salespeople have, and there's a certain set of skills, and we need both of them. And so if you don't have discipline and caring and these other things, selling is really hard. And he continued to push back, and I finally said to him, you've never sold anything, have you? And he said, no, I haven't. And I said, well, I've never published a book, so we're going to have to decide if you trust me to know about sales and I trust you to publish a book, if we can go forward that way. But I'm telling you, these are the important factors for success in sales today. And he said, well, I don't want to do that, but why don't we do this? I'll go out to your blog, I'll pick a bunch of posts, and we'll turn those into a book for you so you don't have to do anything. And I thought, well, that, as attractive as that idea is, it wouldn't be my book if I did it that way. So I left that publisher and I said, we should part ways because we're not going to do a book together. Then I had another publisher reach out and they didn't get it either. And so a couple years ago, I wrote this book myself, and I thought, I'm going to self-publish it because nobody really understands what I've got here. And Penguin Portfolio found me on Twitter. They said, you've got one of the biggest profiles in sales. We don't understand why you haven't written a book. And I said, I have. This is all over Twitter, by the way. I have, and it gets published in 6 weeks. And they said, before you publish it, can we speak to you? And I said, absolutely. And I explained to them the book, and they told me all the mistakes that I made. The name was wrong. I hadn't thought this through well enough. And they just started picking apart. And I said, now hang on. You've got a lot of ideas, and you're probably right. But before you decide that my book is terrible, maybe you should read it first, and then decide what you might do. And I sent it to them, and 6 days later, they gave me a 2-book deal with an option for a 3rd book. And they said, we had no idea how much we were going to love your book, and we think what you've done is incredible, and there's nothing like it, and we want to be your publisher if you let us. So that's how this came about, and I was happy that I did this way because of a couple reasons. If you don't have the mindset, if you don't have the beliefs that drive the behaviors that allow you to succeed in sales or anything else, selling is really hard. If you don't have the things like the discipline, if you don't have the belief system, the optimism that the next call you make to your dream client who's been avoiding you is the call where they're going to pick up the phone and give you the opportunity, then it's really hard to make that call. And if you don't care about other people, if you're not other-oriented and you're not really trying to help people get better results, it's easy for people not to want to do business with you. And the whole thing about selling that nobody talks about, except me, I think, we're trying to create a massive preference for us. We want people to say, I want to work with Brian. Why? Because I trust Brian. Because I know Brian cares about me. Because I know he's got ideas. Because I know he's going to take initiative. Because I know he's going to be accountable for what he sells me. That makes him easy to do business with. And when you come in and you're self-oriented and you don't follow up because you don't have the discipline, you struggle to keep your own commitments, then it's hard for people to do business with you. So the premise of the first half of the book, which really leads into the second half, is who you are matters more than what you do.